I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the lights. I'm lost in the music, can I stay here for the night? I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. No blind, out of sight and out of
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest Elite FPL stream, Saturday night reaction with myself and Ray, where obviously, as normal, we'll be looking back through all today's fixtures, all the points that we've all got today, because we're all on the same bloody points, so there's not much to talk about there. But there is a lot to talk about from the world of football, Ray, isn't there? Good evening.
There is, Steve. Good evening, everyone. How are you, Steve?
Yeah, a bit of a mad day, to be honest with... Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, Ray. Not allowed to talk about personal problems. Can't do that at Elite FPL, apparently. That's a big problem with these people that watch the live stream. Yeah, today's been...
I'm not here to care about your life. Tell me what to do.
Was that your rock impression just then?
Finally!
Yeah, it's been one of those days today at work where I've been so bored out of my mind that you just kind of think about life and what you're doing. And it kind of hit home when I was speaking to Julie, the security guard. And I think I've come to a conclusion. I think I'm leaving London, Ray, to be completely frank. I think I've made that decision now. I think that just speaking with her and kind of basically saying that my work life is my only solace, and the fact that I can just escape the claustrophobia of London and to an extent the claustrophobia of this house when a certain so I've kind of made that decision because it's in days like this where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing, mate? And for someone that's, travelled a lot and you've only just recently come back to this country, I know for a fact that you have empathy towards my circumstances.
Yes, 100%. I mean, we've been back almost 7 years now, Steve-O, but there isn't a day that goes by where I think about the decision to come back. After
Do you want to tell the audience where from?
4 years. Yeah, so we were in Vietnam 2014 to 2018. We had our twins there, who are 7 years old now. And a big reason that we came back to London is A, parents getting a little bit older, but also B is expat life for kids. I kind of had a first-hand view about how it was over there. And also it was very easy to get, like cleaners and maids and, like babysitters and stuff, considering my wife and I were working. So there'll be days where I won't actually see any of them because I'm traveling around. So we decided to come back. But, you and I have had multiple conversations about it because, obviously we're good friends. And I think a big thing I feel is that you're caught in a rat race and, you're spending so much money for very, very little. And, if you do your pros and cons in regards to being in London, I think the cons are starting to far outweigh the pros now, especially after the pandemic, obviously. I know it's been a couple of years, but it still feels so fresh because, I told you my sister's over today just visiting, so I'll take her home later. It's basically, our social skills and just the way we're thinking and our pure energy of life, especially in London, I feel, has just hit such a dramatic dip that I feel when we go to other places outside of London, still in the UK, I kind of have a feeling, not because it's a holiday feeling, but even for work trips and stuff, is when I went to Manchester not too long ago, Siva, just the whole environment and ambience of people feels so different compared to living in London, isn't it? And you'll know the gist of it, not only from the fact that you work as part of the NHS, but also just the, as you'd say, oh, what's on the phone? Is someone speaking to me? Just fuck that.
Yeah, the old WhatsApp the WhatsApp Tourette's people and the TikTok, the addicted TikTokers. It's just absurd. But I don't really I can have a laugh about all that because it is fucking tragic, to be completely frank with you, the people that are in those particular categories. But I was thinking when I was doing a voice message to Dan, and I was listening into the Beehole End podcast, my favourite, most probably is my favourite podcast actually, it's this Burnley podcast that my uncle introduced me to. And rather than listening to the Turfcast, which unfortunately for me, the Turfcast became a bit too shouty and a bit Arsenal fan TV style, where it's good, it's interesting, but once you hear the Beehole End podcast, which is kind of more of a representation of how I feel about Burnley and a more adult-based content.
Yes.
Well, anyway, the point being is that the one that I listened to today, which was their preview / summary of the Plymouth match and the preview for Leeds. One of the guys, his name's Liam, I forget his YouTube channel, but he's basically one of the biggest Burnley YouTube channels out there / football, those football commentary style YouTube channels out there. He's done very, very well. I think he's in his late 20s. I definitely don't think he's 30. And he's in his mid to late 20s. And he was asked a question basically, how do you feel about Burnley's season so far? And he went, bearing in mind again, this is his job on YouTube to do commentary in the sense of reflecting on what's happened at Burnley and stuff. This is his job. And he says, to be honest, I don't really watch anything because I spend more time with my daughters and I think that's more important. And he spoke a lot about the fact that I think there's more enjoyment from spending time with his loved ones than having to watch and sit through 0-0 1-0 every single fucking week. And one of the other guys kind of empathised with him and said, you are right. I can find much better things to be doing with 2 hours of my life than spending this time sat in the terraces watching drab football as we just about get a 0-0 draw. It's painful. And that's when we're doing okay in the Championship.
Yeah.
But the point that they're trying to get, they weren't what's the word I'm looking for here? They weren't disparaging the triumphs that are happening with Burnley at the moment. Because if you would have told us that we'd be sitting third with going into the Leeds game, where if we beat them, I don't even think we go top because of goal difference. I think Leeds stay top of goal difference. But the point being is that is when you're hearing these guys speaking about it, and then when I've got a voice message from Dan talking about how, you know, he was thinking about watching the Wolves versus Chelsea game and how, like, he doesn't want to go to the pub and watch it, but then he feels the need to watch it. And I just said to him, why? What the fuck do you care about Wolves versus Chelsea? Forget FPL. Just set FPL aside, or any form of fantasy football like Telegraph. But in all seriousness, I said, what do you need to watch Wolves versus Chelsea for? Who gives a shit? And I was making the point that the dark reality is that when it comes to, because Praz said it on Gary's FPL Had a Beer interview regarding how he says how he watches Premier League games from an FPL perspective, and he openly said that even though he's a Man United fan, he becomes a Chelsea fan because he owns Palmer, Jackson and Colwill. And I'm listening to this, I'm going, it's pretty tragic. I don't think it's at the point where I think, oh God, what a loser you are, because obviously a lot of people like him, this is it's not his direct job, but it's certainly something that he's quite prominent in the world of fantasy football. And I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, not this isn't on him, but this could apply to anyone. Like, have you not got anything better to do than having to watch Wolves versus Chelsea because of assets? And I always say this, like, well done to the game for bringing in people watching their product. But I'm just sat there going, I'm just so happy that I've personally chosen to now watch TV shows and buy them on DVD. I couldn't give a shit. Go to CX, buy it for £3, a season 1 box set of whatever it may be. And if I enjoy it, I go, right, I'm buying the rest of every single series, and it will cost me all of a tenner, depending on how many series there are. And for me, watching something which takes me into a world which I can just believe in everything and suspend my disbelief, a bit like with wrestling, isn't it? And you can just jump into that world and just enjoy it, and then you realise, wait a minute, there are certain things that aren't actually as important after all, like football. So if for instance with football, if you're watching it because of a poxy game, I think, have you not got anything better to do? Because are you watching it because you enjoy football? Because to be fair to Dan, he genuinely does enjoy football. That's actually a fact. I'm not saying he doesn't. But for me, I don't really give a shit about Wolves Chelsea. I don't care about, like, tomorrow, Brentford versus Crystal Palace versus Brentford. What do I care about that game? Well, deep down, it is just FPL. I ain't going to be I'm not going to be watching that game, right? I don't care about it. It's the same as, I think it's Aston Villa versus West Ham on Sky in the afternoon. Yeah. Is that the afternoon game?
Yeah. I'm
not going to be watching it. I'm going to be trying my hardest to do anything but watch these games. And is it an epiphany moment, Ray, when you hear someone of quite a high stature in the world of YouTube saying that they don't care about something that they're supposed to be commentating on? Is that an epiphany moment, or is that when I'm supposed to be the one thinking about it?
No, I think ultimately is escapism could be one thing that FPL does as well. You know, I've been thinking about that the last few days as we've been voice noting. Is, you know, I think I said to you, you know, I'd rather go and watch Iron Man 2 in the cinema than Oppenheimer, for example, because I want the escapism. I want to just be taken away from reality, you know. And I feel it's taken way too long for me, but that's probably what fantasy football has become. You know what I mean? It's become a point where, you know, we're playing this game, or I'm playing a Telegraph game, for example, and we're watching these games and we're imagining we're the manager of Justin Kluivert, for example, and look how well he's doing. What a great choice it is by me. So I think what FPL is, and perhaps that's what I should have thought about when I was obviously having so many issues last season, is, you know, it's that escapism away from reality, isn't it? So when Praz was mentioning about being a Chelsea fan because he's got 3 assets, he obviously cares about his team, but he cares about his team, so he wants his assets to do well. But like you said, with someone of his stature, or someone on, you know, the Burnley one you were talking about, or for example with me, I listen to Arsenal Vision podcast and Arscast, who are 2 really, really good Arsenal podcasts where they're actually mature conversations and entertaining at the same time. Is, you know, I think it's just that escapism and getting away from it. However, you put the pressure on yourself to create fantastic content like your Burnley guy does, like the Arsenal guys does. I say they don't just want content that out there that's meme worthy. And someone like Praz, who I used to communicate with quite a bit, is he wants to make sure his content is great. So he's probably putting more pressure on himself that, yeah, I kind of need Colwell, Palmer and Jackson to do well because I've got 50,000 following. I'm on the FPL show constantly. I've been on Sky. That, you know, he probably puts his own innate pressure on himself, isn't it? Which one can understand, but then I feel you're putting yourself in a bubble perhaps that could easily burst when ultimately it's not your main income of job or main job, isn't it? And I think there is a lot of other things you can be doing, but one could argue I watch Wolves and Chelsea, Steve-O, to get my escapism like you do when you watch Game of Thrones. So
it's funny because Praz made a funny comment about being recognised during a lunch break. If anybody doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about, basically Gary, aka FPL, has a beer. He does his interview series about mental health, FPL. And the latest interview was released was with Praz. And anyhow, he says that he was recognised in a lunch break and his boss was like, oh, I knew you did a podcast, but I didn't realise you would be recognised in the street. And he said that Gary asked the question, words to the effect of like, oh, would your boss be more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Would he be more... what's the word here? Inclined to give you some kind of pay rise, like all jokey, if he knew you were doing really well in the podcast world or the content creating world, and he just jokingly went, "No, he's the kind of boss that would be like, why are you spending so much time on?" And yeah, and you know, and it, like I say, it was a very interesting. The point I'm trying to get at in a very extremely long-winded way is the fact that while I'm at work listening into the 3 p.m. kickoffs and I'm hearing about well, actually, to be fair, I wasn't even really listening in. I was listening to Mark Goldbridge and then I couldn't listen into him. And then it just got to the point where I'm like, fuck this. I'm just looking at the scores. And I just saw. And the first thing I saw was, oh, for fuck's sake, how the fuck have Liverpool conceded a goal? That was my first reaction. Yeah. Just unfucking-leavable. See... Again, we will go into a bit more detail in this, and then see like Bournemouth winning 5-0. I just roll my eyes like this is just incredible. Obviously, I knew that Isak had scored twice. Newcastle winning 3-1, but it was the fact that Liverpool conceded that one fucking goal. And I'm thinking, the one time where a lot of us own a Liverpool asset, whether it's Trent, whether it's Konate, whether it's Alisson, whatever. I just rolled my eyes thinking it's just absolutely bloody typical. The one team that, which ironically I said in the predictions, do okay away from home, so it wouldn't surprise me if they actually scored at Anfield. You know, they concede 4 goals and yet they still score against Liverpool from, I'm assuming, a set piece because Greaves scored the goal. Yeah. And it's just so bloody frustrating, Ray. And I know
I can attest to it as well because, you know, I've got Trent in Telegraph. He got an assist. I was thinking of clean sheet, and I also predicted 4-0 on Superbrook as well.
Yeah.
So when that goal was scored, I was so angry. I was legit really angry, and it's like, well, my assets still do well, but I'm trying to make a comeback in Super Brew, if you know what I mean.
Well, good luck with that, with FPL Bailey being ninth. Or yeah, he was
We'll
ninth.
talk about that later.
Yeah, he was ninth the other day. Absolutely absurd. Ninth. Well, at least you got 1.5 points for that. I think I got 1 because I predicted 3-0 to Liverpool, because
That's right,
they don't seem to, ironically, score that many at home. They just do a professional job. And when they got bloody Ipswich, I mean, isn't it ironic that if it was 3-1, I think I would have got a close result. I think that's how it would have worked. But yeah, just talking of FPL, we'll just bring up our team up on screen here. So not exactly 50 points. That's without bonus or anything like this. But I did.
59.
I didn't go with Timber.
59 points, Stevo. 59 points.
Is it with bonus? Is it?
Yeah.
So
you've got an 8.5% rise in your rank. So at the moment, basically 1,560,000. So up about 150k green arrow at the moment.
Yeah, I put out a poll on X earlier on. Basically, should I play a Wobie or Sar? And the reasoning being is that in the back of my head, I'm thinking Iwobi last week was substitute at half time for whatever reason. And I expect him still to start tomorrow against Man United. But there was just this thing in the back of my head where I thought there's a small possibility he may not play. Small possibility, about 15% chance, maybe 20% at a push. And then Roberto just made a comment. He just went, look, based on minutes from last week, I would just go with Sarr, the safety option, blah, blah, blah. So I went with Sarr and Robinson. I didn't play Timber in the end. I went with, mainly because I just thought, I said to myself, I want to have as many players in the final game as possible. And it was just pretty much a coin toss between Iwobi and Sarr. And I just have this feeling, Ray, that I don't know why, that Robinson's going to come through with something. And it's going to be the headline being, Man United, this is the kind of player that they need at right back, whatever. You then have Timber, who was facing a Wolves team who were fighting for their lives, who I thought were going to score. Obviously, they didn't. It ended 1-0. Again, that's 3 matches in a row now for Wolves, where they've... for Arsenal versus Wolves, where it's now ended as a clean sheet to Arsenal. Obviously, I played Gabriel. The rest of my team being Flecken in goal, Trent, Gabriel, Robinson, Ahmad, Palmer, Salah captain, Sarr, Watkins, Isak and Gakpo. So obviously the Gakpo move paid off beautifully. In fact, I'm up by 16 by 14 points.
Yeah.
I'm up by 14 points, which is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I've still got Flecken, Robinson, Sarr, Ahmad and Watkins to go. Watkins is a lovely differential in this team for us. I think he's a really, really nice differential for us. And it'd be really... I think tomorrow, he's the one which I think if he could possibly, unlikely because the other 2 strikers have done really well, if he was to come through with a double-digit score against West Ham, I think that's the best differential to have for me tomorrow.
Yeah, we spoke last week and I was pretty confident that Watkins would go up in value. I thought a lot of people would bring him in, but that still hasn't been the case. His effective ownership around your rank is about 11.6%, Steve. So if he gets 1 return, you're going to be shooting up. And when we look at the fixtures that Villa have, they've got West Ham, then they got Wolves, Ipswich, and Chelsea, and even Crystal Palace away, who defensively I don't think are that strong. Well, he's a fantastic asset to have. Out of the 3 strikers, I think he's the one that will be kept the longest out of the 3 of them at the moment. So, and going to your Robinson selection over Timber, considering Arsenal got a clean sheet, I think it could be a win that you went with Robinson because it's only 5 points. And I could understand through us communicating that you were really keen on having a Fulham player play against a terrible side like Man United. So I don't mind the Robinson shout at all, actually. And this week I was very much like, Stevo, I'm just going to go with what the data says. I can't pick out the three, as in Sarr, Ahmad, and Iwobi, which one to bench. So I just went with the data, and it said bench Iwobi, and I sent it over to you. But again, I think the side is looking really good, and it's just really refreshing that it's on a green arrow going into the second day.
Yeah, over the last, was it Andrew Ferguson or Graham Buchanan? I can't remember. One of the patrons said about, look, try not to be spending any points for the next 10 game weeks, I think it is, and we're going to be going into game week 24 with 2 free transfers. I'm still not quite decided. Obviously, we're going to discuss which possible Everton player to bring in. I think the obvious choice, like we both kind of agreed, is probably, ironically, Robinson out for Mikalenko or maybe Tarkovsky, whatever. The point being is that it will, if it is going to be an Everton asset, it will be a defender. I don't know the extent of Calvert-Lewin's injury. Not that we're thinking of bringing him in, but I don't know the extent of that injury yet. But certainly, if we're looking at anybody, it would be a defender. And the fact that they came through the clean sheet today, they're at home to Leicester next, then it's Liverpool. Whatever happens in that game happens in that game. But we're looking at the Leicester game to target. And certainly from my standpoint, I think that plan that you came up with, if you want to just reveal it on here again, the plan of what we're kind of looking at to do over the next 4 or 5 game weeks is looking absolutely glorious.
Yeah, so in game week 24, I heard your preview yesterday, which was really good. I actually liked the video recording aspect because you were in a flow. I thought about, when you said gut feel, don't go with Everton. Everton are not very good, which I agree with. And I thought, okay, well, if we didn't bring in Mikalenko, how does the team look? I don't like Timber at home to Man City. I don't like Robinson away to Newcastle. So I'm thinking, well, get in Mikalenko and then move it on from there. And then, the idea I kind of had, let's say we bring in Mikalenko, which I still believe we should do, is that in game week 25, this is where it gets a bit fun, is that I really, really like the idea of, for those three game weeks, take out Isak in game week 25, away to Man City, home to Nottingham Forest, away to Liverpool, Stevo. We'll talk about the Forest game. I don't want to say it all now, but I think today was just one of those days, as they say. Take out Isak, and I love the sound of bringing in a Visser. I really love the sound of bringing in a Visser. I think the fixtures coincide beautifully with taking out Visser, taking out, let's just say Iwobi, because Crystal Palace's fixtures are unbelievable for the next 2 months. And take out Isak, take out Iwobi, and bring in Visser and Mbumo. And then basically we week by week, we see what's hot. Arsenal, look, Havertz should have scored today. I'm not going to say everything now because I've got a lot to say about that game. And, then start to take those risks, which I think could really, really be fruitful going forward, Stevo, because, you're an engaging manager, or the team that we're doing is engaging. We're looking at the next move. So taking out Isak and Iwobi, bringing in that double Brentford, and then see what happens in game week 27, 28. And then I love the sound of the wild card, because in game week 29, Man City's fixtures pretty much until the end of season, Stevo, I think are fantastic. I think not only are we going to want Foden, probably going to want to look at someone like Haaland as well, and then we could start to think about the assistant manager, triple captain and everything like that. But I think it's something that works because the team is so well set up. We got great fixtures every week, and again, when the fixtures turns happen, hopping onto the Brentford, maybe Arsenal, for example, I think is something that would be fruitful going forward.
Yeah, because you made a point as well, is that we want to be, we're now at a stage at my rank where we want to attack. We don't want to be staying with the same players that everybody's got. That doesn't mean sabotaging our team. But from a logical aspect, we need to be attacking the fixtures. And like you mentioned about Visser and Burmo, I think it's a great shout. And the fact that we are going to have, again, 2 free transfers moving into 25 is going to be really, really helpful. You just mentioned wildcards there, Ray, because also with the triple captaincy, we aren't looking at game week 24, are we? We don't really think those, and I don't think they're very good fixtures for Liverpool. I'm not saying they won't win. I just don't think they're particularly great fixtures.
I don't think so personally, because I do feel Liverpool will defeat Spurs and get to the Carabao Cup final. And I just think it's too steep a hill for us to climb to beat Newcastle. So obviously in that blank, I haven't checked the fixtures of what could be missed. I have no idea, but I just feel the triple captain will be better served on someone like Salah or perhaps even someone like Isak, Steve-O. And again, I don't want to give spoilers to the fixtures because I've got so much to say about a lot of these fixtures. So I want to get to that part. But I feel save it because Bournemouth, wow, what Areola is doing is absolutely superb. And like we said, Everton away, they're gonna have like 22% possession, and I could see them literally by the skin of their teeth grinding out a 0-0. So yeah, I would recommend saving it. I don't think it's a good enough double in my opinion to triple captain Salah.
Yeah, so I mentioned wildcard. Who wildcarded? Jason. Jason did actually wildcard. That pissed me off because, of course, he brings in the player that I had already brought in Gakpo. So his team in full is... give us your immediate reaction to this, Ray. So Henderson and Fabianski in goal. We then have Hall, Kirkes, Konate, Keane and Johnson. The midfield of Foden, Salah, captain, De Bruyne, Palmer, Ahmad, and then Isak, Wood, and Gakpo. Obviously, you're just seeing this for the first time, or hearing it for the first time. Surprised Jason's done a wildcard? I am.
No, I'm not.
Well, you're not.
I'm not surprised because I just don't think Jason's put any real planning in. I mean, he made a comment a few weeks ago on Sunday Reaction about, I don't feel I've sabotaged my team. And I think I left a comment and said, no, you have sabotaged your team because every week you're taking -8s, -12s, and you're not sticking with players. I think there's this fixation of De Bruyne. He keeps on having De Bruyne in his team. Like, he keeps bringing him in. And, you know, I feel like if he was going to wildcard, it's maybe the opportunity to bring in a Haaland per se. But it's a solid enough wildcard, Steve, but it isn't anything really different. He's just fitting in with the rest of the crowd, in my opinion. I mean, when we look at the team compared to your team, the only real massive differentials of players that could haul are Foden and De Bruyne. But personally, I feel it's too early to bring him in. But Foden has got 6 goals in his last 4 games, so he's been absolutely fantastic. But the problem he has, at least this game week, even though he's definitely going to have a green because he's at 70 points at the moment, he only has 1 player left playing while we have 5 players left playing. So, yeah, it's a good team, but in my opinion, he's going to finish outside the top 2 million. I think it's a season where, you know, Jason's been having fun, as they say, and he's legit just been having fun because some of the moves have been quite unique.
Yeah, the De Bruyne move. When I looked at his team, I thought, oh, it's actually a decent team. It is like you stated, it's pretty standard to what most people own. You know, the goalkeeper is whatever people have, if they have. It doesn't matter whether it's Henderson, whether it's Flecken, whether it's Sells, whether it's Alisson. I mean, I'm stating the bloody obvious, but obviously there are going to be goalkeepers that get you more points than others, like the likes of Sells. But really, it's just stick with the goalkeeper, wherever it is, and leave him for the rest of the season, as Nick says on FPL Juice. Hall, again, brilliant asset. Kirkes, same. And then his Liverpool asset for the double game, it being Konate, who's, you couldn't make it up, could you? He gets an assist. Trent Alexander-Arnold gets an assist. It's just absolutely fucking laughable. Then, of course, the 2 defenders he's got, well, he's never ever going to be playing these. Well, Keane doesn't even play for Everton, and then Johnson, well, whatever he plays for Ipswich. The midfield 5 is always going to be a headache for Jason with Foden, Salah, De Bruyne, Palmer, and Ahmad. Yes, you can always leave Ahmad on the bench and play these 4 big hitters, but truth be told, Ahmad is one of these youngsters which at any moment can come through with a fantastic score, and he is one of the key components to Man United at the moment, along with Fernandes. And then, of course, he's got the big 3 up top in Isak, Wood, and Gakpo. Obviously, we got rid of Wood. Gakpo, of course, coming through with him and coming through for him, and certainly, yeah, it's a nice wild card team, but the fact that he's jumped on Man City assets. Yeah, the Foden one I kind of get because he's in form at the moment. Like you state, he scored 6 in God knows how many matches. He seems to be returning every week. It seems that Pep Guardiola has finally found a position for him. But these fixtures, they're just shit. Basically, they're shit. Now, ironically, he did score today, but he's got Arsenal away next, then Newcastle, Liverpool. Spurs is the easy fixture, Nottingham Forest away, Brighton at home, which they don't particularly like playing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Jason sticks with this particular team, Ray.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he still has. I didn't know he had this many chips left. It's because he's taken so many hits, of course. But bench boost, free hit, triple captain, assistant manager. There's still a lot for him to play with. But I just don't think he's taken this season that seriously. So yeah, it's just. I made the joke about a month ago. What will he do next when all three of us were on stream? So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. The Foden and De Bruyne double up's really going to interest me. But the thing is that Marmoush played today and he was electrifying. He added a lot of pace in the middle of the park, and I was really impressed how well he played. And it was, and I think Pep is going to be looking to play him in midfield to drive and to basically really start to transition De Bruyne out. So, but hey, anyway.
Shaq's having a go at you, saying that the cup final blanks in 29 are going to go into game week 33 and 30, and then 34 is a blank game week for those who get in the cup semi-final, which results in...
So there'll still be a double then, Shaq's. So further down the line, there will be a double then. So...
Yeah, and he also mentions here about using the assistant manager in a double. To be honest, I think the assistant manager chip is just a joke, and I think that, quite simply put, you could just play that in any given... I mean, Danny boy, he's going to be playing it in game week 24, 25, 26. He's just doing it that way. End of discussion. That's all he's going to do. So, unless, people are using the assistant manager chip, saying a double where they're going to have... Oh, I don't know, the Liverpool manager has a double, then they switch it to, then they use a transfer, because remember, it costs a transfer. They use a transfer to then switch it to another double manager, and it just goes round and round in bloody circles. It's a load of bollocks, to be honest with you. I just want to quickly say hello to Mahit, FPL MFZ, Dally Paul, Gavin, Sean, Clickers, PK7, and various. Hello, Connor. I listened to your Green Day episode, funny enough, with Tyler. Very, very interesting hearing about your relationship with Green Day. It's always very, very interesting. As Shaq's saying, there's only 2 more projected doubles after double game week 24. Look, at the end of the day, whatever happens with the double game, we can be sitting all day doing a Ben Crennan and looking at every single projected thing. But the truth of the matter is that me and Ray believe that the triple captaincy in that particular game week isn't worth using. If you want to use it, crack on. If you don't want to use it, crack on. But the truth of the matter is that Bournemouth away is not particularly easy. Everton away, it's a derby. Again, could Liverpool win both games? Of course they can. Of course they can. They could win each game 1-0 each, for all I know. But the point being is that we want to be using the triple captaincy in a more upside of the particular game, and I think that is going to be it. I mean, I've been looking at... I tell a lie, I haven't been. I've been thinking about using the assistant manager chip on someone like one of the lowly league teams when their fixtures turn around, Ray. For instance, the Wolves, when their fixtures turn around, maybe just potentially putting on him for 3 decent fixtures and move it on. But anyway, let's just carry on with what we were talking about regarding the fixtures today, which Bournemouth winning 5-0, Brighton losing 1-0, Liverpool 4-1, Southampton losing 3-1, Wolves losing 1-0, and then Man City 3-1. Where do you want to start?
Oh, let's go with alphabetical, I guess. So
okay,
I think that's the way to go. Is Bournemouth 5, Nottingham Forest 0. Completely against what I predicted. I went with a 1-1. But I think it was a day where Nottingham Forest just had a complete off day. Maybe it was a little bit of a, kick up the arse, a bit of a reality check. They've been in sparkling form. But everything Bournemouth seemed to do kind of just kept getting through that defence. And I think we spoke about it last week. And we've been speaking a lot in my fantasy chats as well on Telegraph, obviously, is, Justin Kluivert has very much arrived, hasn't he? He's more than just a penalty merchant, A lot of the players going through him now, because I've always believed he's technically the most gifted player Bournemouth have. And he's performing admirably. And, today it was Wataru Dango with a hat-trick, but maybe not against Liverpool as much as I'd want. But, after that, Bournemouth have glorious fixtures. And, I think Kluivert is an asset to look at. But, yeah, I think Nottingham Forest just were very, very poor, and Bournemouth were as good as they could be. And it just adds credence to Areola getting all this praise, which he has recently. It's because not only are Bournemouth getting the results, getting these big scores, Steve-O, the way the football they're playing is absolutely beautiful to watch. So I don't know how much you caught of it, but of course, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, I don't know anything about the games per se. I just know it from the results aspects. But certainly, I think that the way Bournemouth have been performing over the last several weeks is just ridiculous. To be honest with you, Ray, it's absolutely absurd. The fact that a team from, whether they're from the south coast or not, they're all the way up there, right at the top, challenging. Let's not mess about here. They are challenging for the European spots. Mm-hmm. It's simple. They're challenging for the European spots. And there's something about this Bournemouth team which not only are they able to defend, they're even able to score goals. It's not like they're getting through the matches with, winning 1-0, maybe 2-0 at a push, like Burnley are doing. It's, as I can see here, 5-0, 4-1. 2-2 against Chelsea. Okay, a 1-0 win against Everton. 2-2 against Fulham. There's goals in this. They beat Man United 3-0. Since game week 17, they've been scoring goals for fun. And funny enough, it's against their rivals as well. It's not teams in and around. It's quite literally teams in and around them and teams that are slightly above them, where they're actually winning the matches. In fact, the last time they lost a game, as I can see, it was Brighton at home. Back in game week 12. That was the last time they lost. It was 2-1. Since then, they've just been winning win after win after win, starting with a 4-2 victory at Wolves. And certainly, yeah, I think they are a team to take seriously. I think this is just a blip on Nottingham Forest's point of view. We all expected it to be very difficult. I mean, I predicted 1-1, Ray, in this game. What about you?
Yeah, the same. I predicted 1-1 as well. I thought it was going to be Bournemouth have lion's share of possession, which usually happens with Nottingham Forest, but I thought it would be a really competitive, very interesting, very, very entertaining 1-1. But the thing about Bournemouth as well, Steve, is, we're talking about their attack, is at the moment the best defences joint are Arsenal and Liverpool, who've conceded 21 goals each, respectively. Liverpool still have the game in hand. The next up are Bournemouth with 26 goals, Steve, which is absolutely fantastic, considering their position and, just that defence are so bad now. But they've scored 41 and conceded 26. So this is more than just a hot run of form. They've actually been performing really well the whole season, haven't they? So they are going to give Liverpool one hell of a game next week.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I'll probably be calling that Liverpool to 2-1. That's what I'd be predicting. 2-0, 2-1, something like that. I think it is going to be a very, very tough game for Liverpool. And if they can get through that test, which is amazing, even just saying that, it says a lot about Bournemouth. The fact that Liverpool going to Bournemouth is going to be a very, very difficult fixture. Obviously, the team that is going to be playing in that double game is going to be Everton. They won 1-0 away at Brighton. A team who... yeah. Brighton seem to be able to... to get results against the likes of Man City, Tottenham, etc. But then when it comes to Everton, it's this struggle trying to... I mean, again, I haven't seen any of it whatsoever. But is this more of this is possibly how David Moyes is going to be getting through the next several game weeks, which is just trying to get a goal and then just defending for their lives? Or was it just, do you know if it was just Brighton just being bad?
Yeah, it kind of statistically fell into that place of Everton got a penalty, scored a goal, just sat back, and Brighton was struggling to break them down, really. And to be honest with you, Steve-O, when teams completely sit back against Brighton, and that's whether it's Potter, De Zerbi, or Holtzler, whatever the manager is, that's Brighton's main issue. When a team completely sits back with men behind the ball, they find it very, very difficult to break them down. And that's what happened today, really. And yeah, but a bit like yourself, that's all I can really say about the game. I mean, are there any assets I'm really interested in? No. Are there any ones that we should bring in? Then yeah, just Mikalenko and go from there. But it's quite funny, obviously, with Calvert-Lewin. You know what my thoughts are on him. He went off injured today. And
do we know the extent of it?
No, I don't know the extent. I just saw it flash up and basically, he scores a goal last week, his first goal in however so long, and now he's injured and God knows how long he'll be out for. So he's just a player that I've never really rated as a player, and also I just feel as an FPL asset, he's an absolute no-go. So happy to move on.
Yeah, I it is one of those where I'll be looking at. Well, we both are looking at from an Everton point of view, just their defensive assets, and that's it really. There's nothing more to talk about really. I mean, would we be playing Mikalenko every single week? No. It's just for the simple fact that he's got a nice little double game week, and occasionally, if and when necessary, it's a simple case of, right, when can we play him? Well, maybe Wolves away, West Ham at home, for instance. Other than that, you ain't going to be looking at him Crystal Palace away, Man United at home, Brentford away. It's just pointless, but certainly it's just a bit of bench fodder. But a playing and a good quality player of bench fodder, I'll be more than happy to continue having him in the team. And I'm assuming he may go up in value if he starts returning each week. Then, he's got the Liverpool 4-1. I mean, to be honest with you, why on earth do we even need to talk about this game? Why did the game even need to take place? Because by the time it was 4-0, well, not even that, by the time it was 1-0, it's just game over.
Yeah, it was I watched some of the highlights, at half time of the Arsenal game when I was trying to calm down. And yeah, it was a possession, it was an exhibition stuff. The moment they got the goal so early in 6 minutes or something like that, I was like, oh, Liverpool, I think, are the worst team to go down against because they don't stop. They're absolutely phenomenal in attack. Potentially the best attack in Europe, actually. I'm quite comfortable in saying I can't think of attack better. Maybe Barcelona at times, but I'll go with Liverpool. And then the goals really just came flowing in, Steve. They were 3-0 up in almost a heartbeat, it felt. In the second half, they were just chilling, playing around a bit, and Gakpo, fantastic that's worked out. Just brilliant asset to have moving forward for the foreseeable. And then a bit like yourself, when Ipswich got that goal, I was so angry because I was like, oh my God, I've got two exact scores today, Steve. I could have had that 3 in the Liverpool game. But yeah, Greaves just getting that goal is hilarious as well because isn't Greaves on the bench for us?
Yeah.
Isn't that Greaves?
Yeah. Yeah. And ironically, I've actually got him in my team next week ahead of Robinson at Newcastle because it's Southampton at home. If you ain't going to be keeping a clean sheet in that, then if there's any opportunity to play an Ipswich defender, it's next week against Southampton, especially when Robinson is away at Newcastle. Talking of Newcastle, they beat. I think every single week with Southampton, it's 1-5, 1-5, 1-3, 1-5, 1-3, and this week it's 1-3.
And we don't mean one as in WON.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is just absolutely ludicrous. The fact that Southampton at home, they're just a joke, Ray, to be honest with you. And Newcastle came into town and absolutely, again, I don't know if they demolished them or not, but certainly they got all 3 points which deserve. It's just the simple fact that of the two assets between Salah and Isak. Mr. Reed, he wanted to captain Isak, and I just went, look, and a player in your position, just captain Salah, just stick with safety. And he was really wanting to captain Isak, and I'm like, no, just leave it on Salah. Salah is just a safety option. Yes, Isak could do really, really well today, but if he doesn't and Salah comes through, your rank is going to get fucked up. So just leave it on Salah. You've already got Isak, so don't worry about it. And surprise, surprise, Isak bloody comes through with 2 goals. And it's just great that we own him, to be completely honest with you, Ray. And the fact that Newcastle lost their clean sheet is a good thing from my point of view, to be honest with you.
Yeah, see what I mean about Isak. The guy's evolving to just a level that I didn't think he'd be capable so quickly of attaining. You know, Isak's a player I followed at when he was at Real Sociedad, and when we were linked with him, it was very much like kind of like one of those moments of he'll either move on to the next level, because he always had the talent at Sociedad, but he had a lot of injury issues, or he'll come to the Premier League and he'll eventually prosper. I remember the day he came, his first game was against Liverpool, and he scored a goal. And he took the goal so brilliantly by, I think, outpacing Van Dijk and then just slotting it past the goalkeeper. They lost that game, and I was like, okay, now we got to really keep an eye out for Isak. And he's become almost a world-class player now, because his movement off the ball is so outstanding, because he takes these wide areas, which allows the likes of Murphy and obviously Gordon and then Joe Linton and players. So he's such a team player that by taking these wide areas, it allows others to go in. And we'll revert to FPL because he's getting the opportunities for assists and obviously the goal. You know, when he got his first penalty, he made... What I love about him, he's brave, you know. He takes on players. He's not scared of them like what you see nowadays. How many conversations have we had about, you know, when you made the case for Ray, remember Papis Cisse with those goals he used to score? I'm like, yeah, no one does that now. Isak would actually try that, Sivo. And if you get the opportunity, if you see the second goal, what is showing me that he will become a world-class striker within the next 2 years is that he ran off the shoulder of the defender, but it wasn't from like 70 yards out. It was about 25 yards. He got the position of about a yard away from the defender. First touch with his left foot, beautiful, into his stride. And then, you know, that far corner slot that Henry was so famous for doing. And when I watched that, I was like, you're going to go to, as much as I'd love him at Arsenal, in the next 2 years, he's going to be playing in the Champions League, whether for Newcastle or whether for a team that could be there in a consistent level. And the reason I'm saying that is, A, because I'm such a big fan. I'm really happy for him because I love the way he plays. I like the way he is as a person. He seems like a pretty solid guy. But also as an FPL asset, Sivo, we got to start talking about this guy like we did with Palmer, because I look at Isak every week and I just feel you could be a captaincy option. You know, if the team was in top 100k, Sivo, I wouldn't entertain us taking out Isak, because I'm just like, look, great position, but because we're in a status kind of red alert right now, where look, we got to start making some moves, even if it might hurt. Is that Isak is he's one of the top 4 captaincy options now. You know, you got your Haaland, you got your Salah, you got your Palmer. And while Saka is out for probably another 3 months, I have to put Isak up there as well, Sivo, because he's consistently performing, and he's got 16 goals now. You know, the guy's arrived as a FPL asset, hasn't he?
No, absolutely. I've deliberately brought up Mr. Reed's team up on the screen because you mention Jacob Murphy, and there he is. Mr. Reed, he went with a 4-3-3 formation. He benched his own player in Ahmad, and he went with Jacob Murphy, Palmer, and Salah as his midfield 3. And he's got Saliba on the bench. This is how good Mr. Reed's team is. He's got the affordability to bench Saliba and Burmo and Ahmad, and yet he's 73k in the fucking world. And he's literally one of these people that just looks at his phone for 30 seconds and goes, yeah, he's done all right. Yeah, bring him in, done.
That's the way to play.
I'll be openly honest now. I've just had a prat. I'm not, no disrespect or anything, but having a go at me and you just constantly and making out like this is just a game of FPL and stuff. And yet when we kind of defend our points of view, they get offended by the fact that we're making our cases about something because they're using other people's tips and advice. It's just embarrassing. If you want to come on this channel and you want to make your point of view, that's great. But if me or Ray have a difference of an opinion, we're going to say it. We will fucking say it. And when it's in the contextual space of FPL and regarding, in this specific case, regarding double game weeks and planning and whatnot, and me and Ray are just having a conversation between two friends, and then you have the audacity to make out that we're attacking you, just fuck off. We're not interested in people. Like, we can have a perfectly fine conversation around why maybe using triple captaincy in this particular game, but don't come out with crap that, but this particular person is saying this. Yeah, they probably are. They probably are, but me and Ray have our own opinions, and if we disagree on it, we disagree on it. But you don't need to make out that me and Ray are two fucking idiots. I mean, we are, but don't start mouthing off in the chat. Goodbye. Just good fucking riddance is my attitude towards that. I'm sorry, Ray, but it had to be said.
Okay. No. I agree, and you know, there's a lot of so away from that, which I understand. Some people don't agree with opinions, and then kind of aggressively attack when it's just an opinion. No opinion, in my opinion, is right or wrong because it's a fucking opinion. But moving on, really.
Well, the point I was trying to get at is that you saying about that's how you should play FPL is the fact that this person is, this is just an FPL game, just calm down. So then why are you using other people's advice to play your game? It's just think about what you're saying. Just prat, as Mark Goldbridge says. I'm sure I'm going to get a DM on Discord or something like that. How dare you say this? I'm not going to read any. I'm not going to read any of it. I'm just not going to read any of it. But yeah, moving on to your team, Arsenal winning 1-0.
I did want to say something about what Mohit was saying. So Mohit, you're quite right. Is when can we use the triple captaincy and then the assistant manager? You're obviously talking about bench boost. My best ever bench boost in the 4 years I played was in a single game week, Mohit. It really was. I think I made something like 32 points because I was just like, oh my God, the bench boost has come out of nowhere. I just clicked the button and I got like 32 points. I think I had like Lacazette on the bench and he got a couple of goals or something like that. And when I do bench boost, I don't do fuckery. I put the bench I would do that week if I didn't have the bench boost. And I think Lacazette, some Arsenal assets really banged for me. I think Smith Rowe might have got a goal off the bench as well. So I know we've spoken about it, but bench boost is the chip I hate the most. I think it's absolutely useless. I think we set up our team so long for very little that Steve-O, with all this planning we'll eventually do at the end of the season in the last 6-7 game weeks when we probably have 2-3 chips. Bench boost will probably be bottom of kind of my thinking in regards to the team. But yeah, I mean, shall I go on to the Arsenal game, my man?
Well, was it a sending off, wasn't it? By all accounts, I'm only going off what Mark Goldbridge said. The Gomez sending off was more of a red card than Calafiori. No, whatever his bloody name is, Lewis Smith, or whatever. Yeah,
Lewis Kelly, yeah.
And his was more of a yellow card. So take it away, Ray. This is your platform now. Wolves, you just beating Wolves, thankfully, 1-0.
Yeah. I mean, at the start of the game in the lineup, when I heard Odegaard was ill, I wasn't actually too unhappy because he's just not looking right for multiple reasons. His match sharpness, his fitness, generally on the ball. I think last week we were saying, look, he's got a kid who's probably like a month old or something like that. He is not getting the sleep that these elite sportsmen need. They need their 8, 9, 10 hours. So I completely understand it as a father of two, even 7 years old. Sometimes one of them wakes up with issues. They've done something in the bed, and it isn't just like go to bed. You got to sort it out. So I totally understand from a human aspect. So when we had the lineup of Nwaneri, Partey, and Rice in midfield, I was happy with that. Saliba was back, of course, so that gave me a lot of confidence that, okay, we could get a clean sheet here. And, I was happy. Sterling shouldn't play anymore. He just shouldn't. He's a 30-year-old guy who's been playing football at the highest level since he was 17 with Liverpool, Steve-O. His next call is to go to Saudi Arabia. and get 500,000 a week. So when we started the game, I was pretty happy with the first 5-10 minutes. But then I must say, Wolves came into the game, and in that 30 minutes, I thought it was a really even game. And how the sending off happened to just jump straight into it. So I actually thought 0-0 was like, it's actually fair at the moment. I mean, Wolves have given as well as they've taken. And then they broke. And Skelly did a good professional challenge. When it's, all right, I'm going to stop a break, I'm going to trip him over. And then Mark Oliver, whatever his fucking name is, and I'll give you a stat about him in a minute with Arsenal, is he pulled up a card, it was a red card. I just went, what? I completely lost my mind. And I saw the replays. And what happened is when he tripped him, it actually kind of came high around the shin area and then came down onto the ankle. But I couldn't help but think, you know what, Ray, don't be logical, be a twat, and just think, for fuck's sake, how come an example keeps being made of Arsenal? Does that make sense? We had Rice with kicking the ball away, we had Trossard kicking the ball away. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but Martinelli got sent off. He got 2 yellow cards in one instance of kicking the ball away and blocking a throw in and tripping the player up. And he got 2 yellows from that sequence, the first ever Premier League player. And also regarding this referee, this is this referee's 8th red card against Arsenal, by far the most he's ever done on any other individual team. And you've known me long enough, I never like to throw the corruption line. I never like to throw it. But I keep feeling Arsenal are being made an example of. And I think a lot of that is because Arteta's not a media darling, which is, I think, something I said to you start of the season. He doesn't give anything away in interviews. Does that make sense? He's just like, this is what it is, straight lace, straight face. He's not laughing like Klopp did. He's not, so respected, and he shouldn't be with his success level like Ferguson. He isn't entertaining with his one-liners like Mourinho, They want to get stuff out of Arteta, and they don't. I feel like sometimes it peels over to the actual football pitch, Stevo. So if someone argued with me and said, Ray, it's a red card because he came down on his shin, I'm like, okay, but I don't feel like he went in to do him. He wanted to trip him up, and he tripped him up a bit higher. But it was a trip. I didn't feel it was a stamp. So it goes 0-0 half-time, and you can imagine, I'm so livid. I'm so angry. I didn't want to watch the rest of the game, but I did. And the Andre Gomez one was given as a second yellow card, which also made me very unhappy. It was great. He got sent off. I was happy. I was like, good, fuck off, blah, 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 blah. But the actual action was Timber's ankle was on the floor, and, Gomez came right into his ankle, like studs down right into his ankle. It got given as a second yellow card rather than a straight red. And my argument is that I feel there was a lot more malice and aggression on the Gomez challenge rather than the Skelly one, because now Skelly's going to miss 3 games, Stevo. And we always have defenders out anyway, and so it's 0-0. The moment it went down to 10 men each, I generally felt like we were going to score now, because we were probably the better team, 10 versus 11, crazily enough. And then Calafiori finished really well, and he's very good at that kind of finish, actually, coming from the left and kind of hitting the shots that go across the goal like he did against Man City. Got the win. Havertz missed a bundle of chances, Stevo. 3 headers. He should have probably scored all 3 of them. Still an asset I feel like we should keep an eye on. But yeah, got the 1-0. Still in touch with Liverpool. But it's getting desperate now. I feel if we drop if at any point we go 11 points behind them, or 8 points and they have a game in hand, then I think we can completely shut it down. But right now we're literally holding by the skin of our teeth. So yeah, there's a lot to say, but I thought our defense were fantastic. I know Saliba got maximum bonus points, but I disagree. I think it should have been Gabriel. I think he was a lot better defensively. But yeah, Arsenal defense might be back on the menu, but go ahead.
Oh, thankfully, I've got double. I didn't play one of them for reasons that we've already discussed. But yeah, certainly with Arsenal, they've got Man City next, awful. But then Leicester away, West Ham at home, Nottingham Forest away. Man United away ain't going to be too bad, to be honest with you, the way they've been playing. Then it's Chelsea at home, Fulham at home, Everton away. So I think if you've got double Arsenal defence, keep it. If you haven't, just leave it. In fact, question for you, Ray, a bit like with Jason. If you don't own Arsenal defenders, is it worth bringing in?
Yeah, I think it's worth bringing in one, definitely, Steve-O. But a bit like yourself, I mean, not for the Man City game per se, for the Leicester game and West Ham at home. But I don't feel it's worth doubling up. I'd probably rather look at, is there a way of bringing in a Arsenal attacker? Because, I think I've spoken to you about Havertz since the start of the season. It's just he gets in so many good fucking positions, Steve-O. His movement is actually really exceptional. It's just he's in those attacking areas. But he's just so bad at finishing. I think that's why I said to you, let's keep an eye out and see if Arsenal actually buy a forward who would take these chances. But the more, obviously, the deeper we get into the window now, we're down to last week. I actually don't think we're going to buy anyone, which is depressing me. Because if we don't buy anyone, we're not winning anything. I mean, we're not going to win anything anyway. But, the title charge is really hanging on by a thread. Carabao, for me, I've already given up on it. And the Champions League is the Champions League, obviously. Once you face those big teams, it's all about those moments. And those moments are usually about being clinical, isn't it? And Havertz doesn't provide that, unfortunately. But I'd say if you have one Arsenal defender, it's enough to go with potentially for the next 6-7 game weeks. If we have double like we do, happy days, because happy to play one, happy to bench one, depending on the fixture, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems also that it seems to be Liverpool's to lose now in this particular title race. I think that what is the gap, between you and Liverpool now?
It's 6 points to have a game in hand. That game in hand is away to Everton.
Yeah, so let's just say
if they win, if they beat Bournemouth and Everton, even if we beat Man City, I think it's game over, because those are two extremely tough away games. And very different games, because Bournemouth are actually going to come out and play, whilst Everton aren't.
Yeah,
and if Liverpool win both of those, I kind of think it's game over. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think Liverpool are the kind of team that enjoy the challenge. I think they like it when teams put up an attacking defence point of view. Like Bournemouth aren't going to sit back. They ain't going to be sitting back. And I think that could be a really, really entertaining game. In fact, next week, 3 o'clock kickoffs. There's a Nottingham Forest Brighton as the early kickoff. Jesus Christ. And then we got, it is 3 o'clock, Bournemouth versus Liverpool, Everton versus Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham. And then in the evening, Jesus God, Wolves versus Aston Villa. I mean, if it wasn't a double game week, Palmer would probably be potentially the best captaincy next week. Potentially.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. I'd probably say Isak. Personally.
Well, I was going to, Fulham aren't that bad. Fulham aren't.
West Ham are a weird one, isn't it? Because with Potter, we don't know what they are yet, isn't it? We know what eventually he'll make them. We'll make them into a proper footballing team. I actually think I think it's great for both parties. I think it's been a great acquisition, Graham Potter. He's done very well to wait for the right job, because I know he got multiple offers, including for Premier League teams, but yeah, we don't know what West Ham are. I think Palmer's a good shout again today. I think we should segue into the game. But
I was going to say, you've got to be going in a minute. And the reality is, look, Man City win 3-1. I had it down as a draw, 2-2. By all accounts, Chelsea just gave away the goals. Is that true, Ray?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Man City gave away the goal with their new signing, trying to head it back to Edison, and then Jackson very well read the play. Again, a guy with such good movement, gets in great areas, but just an absolute shocking.
I saw your post about him not having a left foot or something like that. What was that all about?
Yeah, well, Palmer's layup was awful. Basically, Chelsea broke and Palmer laid it off to Jackson, but it was a bit heavy. So Jackson couldn't straight away kick it with his left foot. He had to cut back. But Jackson should have like 25 goals this season, Steve. I mean, he gets so many opportunities. I don't want us bringing him in at any point. He's just very frustrating. But apart from that, Man City played well. But again, Man City is they're just not the same now. It is a team, like we said a couple of weeks ago. They've aged now. They've done everything together. Kyle Walker's gone to Milan on loan till the end of the season with an option to buy. And they deserved their win. But at times, every time Chelsea came forward, Madueke, very, very good, by the way, very bright, got his goal, but also gave Guardiola a really hard time on the right side. is that if you're looking at a Chelsea midfielder, I do like the looks of someone like Noni Madueke. From a Super Brew point, very happy. I did predict 3-1. So, yes, Eva. And I think with Chelsea assets, I think you just hold on to Palmer pretty much for the whole season. And with Man City, game week 29, I think, is when we're gonna start jumping on to those Man City assets, either on the wild card, as I kind of shared with you briefly, or obviously just bringing in players. And Foden is looking super good at the moment, Sivo. Really, really bright.
Well, the irony is that Jason did his wild card, but he got rid of the two best assets from this particular game in Man City with Vardio and Haaland.
Yeah.
And even Kirkes, who got a clean sheet today, he would have been in Jason's team this week. This is the kind of season that Jason's unfortunately having. You seem to be doing the right thing, and then it just completely, like I said, he's had a good score. I know he's got Kirkes anyway, but he's had a good score. If he'd have just left his team as it was, rather than taking a hit this week, he's done his wild card, and he would have had Haaland and Vardio. If he had played Vardio, which I would have assumed he would have done, and then he could have done his wild card for game week 24. Just a quick question from Roberto: do you think you'll win the appeal for the red for the guy, whatever his bloody name?
No, what's his name?
Selby Lewis, whatever.
Dave.
Yeah.
There are a few questions actually, so we could go through some of these. But no, Roberto, because if they do that, then they are admitting that they've made an error. And one thing I have realized about the PGMOL is they act like they're celebrities, aren't they? Where they kind of have their own union that even if they're wrong, they're not wrong. And the perfect one was Michael Coote obviously being caught doing some interesting things. And what did the referee say? The head guy, Anthony Taylor, whatever his fucking name, he goes, "Oh, it's a bit out of order from his friend to record that." So it just shows everything. So no, Roberto, I don't think so whatsoever. I love how Mohit's calling Roberto yellow the whole time. It's brilliant.
Well, just another quick one is the fact that Roberto's asking, he's got double Arsenal defence, get rid of Timber from Mikalenko.
No, because I do like our fixtures. I think if you have double Arsenal defence, you just keep them, in my opinion.
And I'm set up for next week, as they're up on screen right now. Flecken in goal, Trent, Gabriel and Greaves. Ahmed, I can't believe I'm saying that, but Ahmed, Palmer, Salah captain, Sarr, Watkins, Isak and Gakpo. And it's looking likely that Mikalenko is going to come in for Robinson. Done, we move on. Ray, I know you've got to get out of here. Any final quick thoughts before we finish off?
Yeah, so in Super Brew, it's something I like to cover now, just a quick segment. So, Siva, at the moment, you are 14th. I am
another yellow, red arrow. Great.
I am still in second, which I'm very happy about.
Incredible.
I've got 209.5 points, so I am 28.5 off Bailey. He, at the moment, his live rank is 9th, so he's gone down by 2. So he's struggling at the moment. But
struggling.
And I'm about, what the fuck am I? I am 3,000, just over 3,000 out of 70 odd thousand. But yeah, I mean, Mohit, I'll answer these quickly. Is we got triple. We got Trent, Gakpo, Salah, best three by far, in my opinion. Also, take a look at Trevor Chalobah. Okay, I don't really agree. And Mohit, Ray, what are your thoughts on Palmer? Yeah, he's probably not been as effective, but I think with our budget at the moment, he's just a player you can keep. However, when that time comes when we're looking at Man City again, someone has to be the sacrificial lamb, and Palmer could be that guy. But again, Mohit, Chelsea are creating so many opportunities that they're just going to smack a team, aren't they, Steve? Because they've got so much attacking talent.
And it is a double game week upcoming, and you know what that means, Ray, that all the double game week players that any of us bring in are going to fail. And the single game week, as like I mentioned, Palmer at home to West Ham, in my opinion, if it wasn't a double game week, could be the very attacking captaincy option. But unfortunately, because it's the double game week, we're all going to be looking at, well, Salah. Is there anybody from Liverpool other than Salah that potentially could be a captaincy option? Or is it just, no, Salah is the one?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm being boring here. Typical Ray. It's Salah. It's Salah. Yeah, it's not worth any of the others in my opinion.
And just quickly, triple captaincy for you, yes or no?
No.
I agree. On that note, Ray, thank you for joining me as ever on the Saturday Night Reaction. We'll be back next. I don't even know what's happening next week for the preview, but if there is no live stream, then it'll be just a simple video. Other than that, just keep up to date on Patreon, what the hell's going on. If you've enjoyed tonight's stream, by all means hit the like button. If you've enjoyed the content me and Ray are doing at the moment, by all means hit the subscribe button. And for definite, we will see you next week for the Saturday Night Reaction. Cheers all, and cheers Ray.
Cheers, Steve. Cheers,